everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm super excited to share with all of you swatches and my initial review of the Bridgerton SatinAllure lipsticks from Pat McGrath. So if you guys have been watching my channel for a while, you know that I am a huge Pat McGrath fan, but for the most part, I've been passing on most of the items in her last two Bridgerton releases. I did, however, pick up 3 of her new lipsticks because I was really excited to try out this new formula. Pat McGrath used to have a satin lipstick formula called the Luxe Trance formula, which I really enjoyed, but she has recently discontinued that, so I couldn't wait to pick up some of these SatinAllure lipsticks and try them out. So if you're interested in swatches, a lot of comparison swatches, and my initial review of these products, then just stick around. So in case you're curious what I have on my face today, I'll link the products in the description box below. And for the eyeshadow in particular, I basically tried to use the eyeshadows that I found as dupes for the Bridgerton 2 palette. So I'll also link that video down below in case you're curious about which shadows I used. But essentially this is another look that you can do if you picked up that palette or if you have the dupes that I mentioned in my video. So let's start by going over the packaging. So this is the box that the lipsticks come in. It has this classic Lady Whistledown emblem on the front, Pat McGrath's logo on the side, and information about the Bridgerton release. And the shade names are listed on top. And if you have 3 of the boxes, you can display them like this to get the whole effect of the design. The lipsticks themselves come in either blue or pink packaging. So the blue packaging is for the cooler undertone shades, and the pinky peach packaging is for the warmer undertone shades. The defining characteristic is this gold bow that runs around the bullet. And then there are these additional gold details at the top and the bottom. The top of the bullet is totally flat, and the bottom says the shade name plus a big Netflix logo, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I mean, I like Netflix, but not necessarily on my lipsticks. If you're accustomed to Pat McGrath's typical Luxe Trance or Matte Trance formula lipsticks, definitely the packaging on this Bridgerton release is a little bit less luxe. So as you can see, the compact is a little bit smaller than her typical compact. And also it's a lot lighter in weight in comparison to her normal lipstick. Also, there's some differences in terms of the detailing. So at the top of the typical lipstick, it's more of a slightly domed top. And then there's this golden lip around it. Whereas for the Bridgerton one, it's just totally flat. There's no lip. It's just a little gold ribbon along the top. And then on the bottom of her normal lipstick compacts, it's totally gold. Again, you have this slight lip. Whereas for the Bridgerton release, it's just flat with the sticker, and then you have this gold ribbon around the bottom. The bullets themselves, though, seem to be of the same size. So when the reviews first started coming in for these lipsticks, I was a little bit worried because of this packaging. I worried that I had made a mistake and I should have waited until she came out with these in her normal packaging. I will say though, these lipsticks are cheaper than her normal lipsticks. Typically they retail for $38, whereas this was more like $28. So on the whole, I am glad that I picked up these Bridgerton lipsticks because overall the packaging still looks nice, it's just not as luxe. So in terms of the shades I picked up, I got 2 of the warm tone shades and 1 of the cooler tones. So I have Negligée, Venusian Peach, and Veiled Rose. So let's start the swatches with Negligée. This is described as a neutral pink beige. So here we have Negligée on the lips, and this shade is basically the same color as my lips. So this is a really great My Lips But Better kind of shade for me personally. Online, it looked a little bit more peachy nude to me, whereas I feel like on the lips, it definitely has a little bit more pink to it, and in general is a lot deeper than I anticipated. That said, I really like the idea of Negligée being a little bit of a deeper shade that matches my lip color. Typically, nude lipsticks look a little bit light on me, so it's kind of exciting to have one that is exactly the same shade as my lips. In terms of this formulation, as you guys might have been able to see as I was swiping it on, this is somewhat of a sheer but buildable formula. So with one swipe, you get decent pigmentation, but if you really want full opacity, it does help to go in with 2 swipes. That's distinct from her Luxe Trans formula, which was extremely pigmented with just 1 swipe. This formulation though is definitely more hydrating on the lips, and I think better for an everyday basis. And here we have some comparison swatches with some other lippies in my collection. So this is Negligée from Pat McGrath, and then we have Huda Beauty's Sweet Cheeks, and then Lisa Eldridge's Muse Gloss Embrace, and then Charlotte Tilbury's Glowing Gen Kissing Lipstick, M Cosmetics Venetian Rose Lip Cushion, and then Sunset Rose Lip Gloss from Pat McGrath. I would say Sweet Cheeks is very similar, but maybe a tiny bit more nude. Muse is mainly in a very different formula, but very similar shade. Glowing Gen is just a hair deeper and slightly more mauvey. Venetian Rose is very similar, just mainly a different formula. And then Sunset Rose is cooler in undertone. Next, let's go into Venusian Peach. This is described as a light peachy nude. So here we have Venusian Peach on the lips, and I would say it's a little bit lighter and peachier than Negligée, but overall just looking at it by itself, it's a little bit less peachy than I anticipated. So I think it reads a lot more pink than a lot of my other peach lipsticks. That said, it looks really nice, and I like that it's pigmented enough on its own, so I don't feel like I necessarily need to have a lip liner with this. And here we have a swatch of it. So yeah, in swatch form, these two look fairly similar, but I do think they read slightly differently on the lips. One thing that I'll mention formulation-wise is that these do have a slight silicone-y texture. So if you don't like silicons in your makeup formulation, that might be something to consider. I do think though that makes it feel really lightweight on the skin, which personally I like. And also it definitely has some of that slip, absolutely no stickiness. Overall, it doesn't really feel like you have much on the lips. And here we have some comparison swatches. So the big swatch is Pat McGrath's Venusian Peach. And then we have Kitten Mischief from Lisa Eldridge, Hustla from Huda Beauty, Nude Romance from Charlotte Tilbury, Spice from Victoria Beckham, Blow Up from Pat McGrath, Kala from Natasha Denona, and then Dahlia from Wayne Goss. I think you can see from these swatches that overall, compared to other peachy nudes, this shade from Pat McGrath is definitely a lot more pink in tone. If anything, I think Venusian Peach actually has a lot more in common with these shades up here rather than a lot of these peachy shades. It's a lot pinker than any of these, and then Kala is just a little bit deeper. So overall, it's probably most similar to Wayne Goss Dahlia, or actually to the Negligée shade. So finally, let's swatch Veiled Rose. This is described as a mid-tone mauve pink. So here we have Veiled Rose on the lips, and you can definitely tell that it's a bit more cool toned than any of the previous lipsticks. Let me show you guys a big swatch over here. So yeah, this one definitely stands out a lot more against my skin than either of the previous ones. In general, I would say if you have a warm undertone like me in your skin, then if you go in with any of the blue bullets, then chances are it's gonna pop a lot more against your skin, whereas the pinky peachy ones will probably look a little bit more natural. And my guess would be that vice versa would be true if you have more of a pink, cool undertone. And here we have the final comparison swatches. So here is Veiled Rose from Pat McGrath. And then we have Spirited Away from Lisa Eldridge, which has more of a brown undertone to it. Then we have Divine Rose Lip Gloss from Pat McGrath, which is a little bit deeper than Veiled Rose. Then we have Les Nues from YSL, which is actually pretty similar, just a little bit warmer. Then we have Soft Core from Pat McGrath's Matte Trance, which is similar, maybe slightly cooler tone than Veiled Rose. Executive Realness from Pat McGrath, which is a lot deeper. And then Love from Oma Beauty, which is deeper and warmer in tone. And in the course of doing these swatches, I realized some of these looked more similar to Negligée, so I added a few more swatches to Negligée over here. So Negligée is right here, and then we have Spirited Away from Lisa Eldridge, Kala from Natasha Denona, and Love from Oma Beauty. So hopefully these comparison swatches are helpful for any of you in case you have some of these other shades in your collection. Overall, I would say that I have a lot of lip shades that probably on the lips look very similar to these new Pat McGrath lipsticks. But I still am glad to have these guys in my collection because I do really like the formulation and these shades. I will say the one shade I'm a little bit more on the fence about is this Veiled Rose one, the one that I have on currently, just because I do usually like to go in with slightly warmer, more nude toned lipsticks, but I guess this is nice to have a little bit more of a pop on the lips. These two over here though are definitely in my wheelhouse and I feel like I'll get a lot of use from them on an everyday basis. On the whole though, I wouldn't say any of these shades are truly nude though, so if you're looking for more of a nude lipstick, I would probably steer you more in the direction of some of these guys over here. In general, these are much more on the pink side, which makes sense given how much Pat McGrath loves pink, but I did want to call that out because I feel like some of these look a little bit different in the pictures online. So in terms of my overall thoughts about this launch, on the whole, I'm glad that I picked up a few of these lipsticks. I don't really have that much FOMO for anything else in the collection, since I feel like I can basically replicate the eye looks that I want, and I was not a fan of the packaging for that blush or for the body glitter. In terms of these lipsticks, I would say even though the packaging is a little bit less luxe than what I'm used to with Pat McGrath, it's still worth it to me to be able to try out more shades in this formula. In terms of the formulation, overall, I've been really enjoying it so far. It's very hydrating and comfortable on the lips, does not feel heavy at all. It does take a couple layers to build up to full opacity, but I think that's fine for an everyday basis. Now, I do have a lot of hydrating pigmented lipsticks, as you guys can see from these swatches over here. So I will say that this is not necessarily my #1 favorite formulation. I haven't worn it enough to say for sure, but it hasn't fully blown my socks off in comparison to some of my other favorites. I would say that I do like this formulation better than the recent Natasha Denona I Need a Rose lipstick formula. It is a bit more hydrating and a bit more flattering for lines on the lips in comparison to the Natasha Denona. It's less long-lasting though than that formula. In terms of comfort, I think I still prefer my Huda Beauty cream lipsticks, my Kissing formula from Charlotte Tilbury, my Oma Beauty Black Magic, and the brand new Dior Addict Shine lipstick. Those just feel slightly more hydrating as the day wears on. That said, this is one of the newest formulas to my collection, so I'll have to keep you guys posted in my monthly favorites in terms of how this formula compares with other formulas in my collection. As a big Pat McGrath fan though, I am glad that she has revamped her satin lipsticks, and I look forward to seeing more lipstick releases from her. So that's it for today's video. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I would love to hear if you picked up anything from the Bridgerton 2 release, and if you've tried these lipsticks as well, I would love to hear what you've thought about this new SatinAllure formula, and if there are any shades that you particularly liked. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!